disruptive.
Weird thing to happen. So we're into mid-September, which means, the kids are firmly back in school. Things are back on track, the kind of normal routines. And Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, is finally back in operation. They had this, long extended break. And sometimes, when you have a long extended break, you have to go on another break. Justin Trudeau resigned. They couldn't get Parliament back together. Then Mark Carney got selected. Then they had Parliament for maybe a week and a half. Then they went on summer vacation while the country was still burning. And guess what? The country is still burning. Things are still chaotic. And it just seems to be only more chaotic, ladies and gentlemen. But we have seen the return now of Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre at the helm. And this is... it got pretty interesting. So this guy, Bruce McGonigal, says Pierre Poilievre slams Mark Carney for creating more inflation and poverty. Mark Carney brags about $200 billion in inflationary investment announcements last week and another $100 billion in housing yesterday. Record deficit means more inflation, not less. So here's a bit of the back and forth that happened recently. This is from yesterday in the House of Commons during Parliament. Let's take a look.
There's a lot more debt is what there is, Mr. Speaker. A lot more debt than we ever imagined would be possible. This is a prime minister who said we'd have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We have the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. He said grocery prices would go down. They're going up faster than ever before. He promised to create jobs. He has the second highest unemployment in the G7. He's really reminding us all of that sign at the bar. Free beer tomorrow. But you come back the next day and the beer is still not free and tomorrow never comes. Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
If you hear quietly enough, I think Doug Ford's running to Parliament right now. Did someone say free beer? I was the guy that brought beer into the corner stores and screwed over Ontario. I swear, you mentioned the word booze in front of Doug Ford. He's globbering like Homer Simpson. Kind of odd because I don't think he really drinks. But anyway, that's another conversation. But here's Mark Carney in response to this.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think if we are going to build the strongest economy in the G7, and we will, we need to be clear. We need to be clear about the scale of the crisis we are in. We need to be clear about the scale of investment that we need. $60 billion in new projects announced last week. $200 billion in investment announced last week. $100 billion in housing investment announced just yesterday. That's the scale of what we need.
Yes, that is what we're going to need. It's coming, folks. It's coming. Hold on. Brace yourself. Look at all this high investment we're doing. Housing, construction, all these big projects. You got to believe me. Trust me, bro. That's the vibe you're getting from the Prime Minister. It's not a guarantee. We don't even have a full budget at this point, and we're already almost done 2025. We don't even have a budget for this year. But look at how much money we're spending. Look at how much opportunity this is going to be. We know how big of a crisis it is. Just trust us, bro. Trust us. So, it wasn't just in the House of Commons that this rhetoric was about. Obviously, Mark Carney then had to go to the press and exemplify his commitment and promise to, one of his big promises is housing. And as Government EXE is corrupt points out, government says housing is too expensive, so it's time to mass produce homes so Canadians can live in factory-built modular homes that are environmentally friendly. Canadians don't want to live in shipping containers, you blanking a-hole. Well, if it were in a position where you were on the streets and you're looking for shelter, I don't think you're going to complain much to what kind of home you're going to be built. I get the frustration. I get the anger from this guy that you're kind of forcing this upon people that, why is everything going to be a modular home? Doesn't make sense. But I'm not against modular homes. I'm not against, the shipping container. I've seen them used in like making apartment buildings, and they look actually phenomenal when they actually put the emphasis and stuff, or even like the small, shipping container homes that they built. So I'm not, completely diminishing that. I'm not completely, against that, but I get this guy's frustration. And it's more aggravating because of the fact that this is coming from Mark Carney, the private equity prime minister, who is, still kind of in cohorts with Brookfield, even though he's supposed to be cutting ties with Brookfield. He still, kind of manages and, decides policies based for them. That this is not going to be a wonderful, welcoming wagon to Canadians as he is trying to sell you it. That being tied to Brookfield, there's going to be something wonky about this. So let's hear.
Challenge with housing construction in this country is that by using conventional methods, our construction is just too slow for the housing supply that we need to meet our current needs. It's also too expensive and too heavily reliant on traditional on-site methods. We need to transform the way we build by harnessing the latest technologies. And that's why Build Canada Homes will prioritize the use of cost-efficient and modern methods of construction, including factory build, modular, and mass timber. Factory build housing means homes, or large parts of homes, built in controlled factory settings, with precision, with advanced machinery, and benefiting from the latest technology. These homes can be standardized, mass-produced, and once completed, shipped to site and assembled in days or weeks rather than months or years.
So he goes on there, but again, he's trying to sell you this promise of affordable housing. And as I've stated, I keep hearing this promise about affordable housing. And I agree with the policy. I agree with the idea that we definitely need, affordable ways to purchase shelter and be able to rent and be able to, have a home for ourselves. Because there's a lot of, the homeless epidemic here in this country is continuing to increase. So I agree with the policy. I agree with the, actual principle of it. But what have we seen numerous times when, whether it's the prime minister or the premier of a province or even the city mayor, when they're committed to, oh, this spot is, zoned for affordable housing. We're starting an affordable housing project. Okay, that's good. You start drawing the blueprints out. You start coordinating with people and start coordinating with construction companies and whatnot. Okay, see, things are starting to get on the table. But then you go and talk to land developers. Then you talk to real estate moguls. Then that affordable housing project that you thought was actually just going to be reasonably affordable is just another wonky condo building that no one can afford. And that affordable housing project just completely goes pfft. So this is why I'm very skeptical of this promise. This is why I'm very skeptical, because you can make all the promises you want. Oh, we're going to build, affordable housing. It's going to be more cheaper for, Canadians to buy, and young-time, first-time home buyers can finally purchase a property. Yeah, you can make all the promises you want, but when the construction starts and you start doing these backdoor deals with developers and, real estate moguls and all sorts of people behind closed doors, the script changes and you're no longer building an affordable home with cost-effective goods and being able to make shelter for people. And it becomes just another excuse for these real estate moguls, for land developers and whatnot, the billionaire class, to exploit the problem so they can build, another condo building or another, one of these catastrophes that no one can afford to purchase. In fact, there's a lot. There was a study that came out that a lot of the condos, apartments in these high rises in places like Toronto and Vancouver and Calgary and all these big metropolitan areas that they complain the most about affordable housing. You know, a lot of those apartments are empty, and they're purposely empty because they don't want someone who's maybe on a fixed income or maybe can't afford the highest bidding price to rent out that apartment. And instead, they rather have it vacant than actually occupied by someone getting them off the street so they have the ability to regain themselves. Because that's the thing. A lot of the homelessness out there, you know, they don't have shelter. They don't have an address. They don't have a place to call their own. How are they able to function? How are they able to function? Even when Doug Ford says, oh, these homeless people, they just need to go out and get a job. What's the first thing an employer is going to ask you? Your address. If you have email. If you have a phone number. Well, if you're out in a cardboard box in the middle of the street or on a sidewalk or down an alleyway, you don't have any of that. You don't have any of that. So I just feel this is going to be another scam in the making of this. And here's Mark Carney on his own X account page, his own Twitter page. Again, just trying to sell you the idea. Canada's government is getting back to the business of building affordable homes. We're going to build at a pace not seen since the Second World War, using the latest technology to build faster, smarter, and more sustainable. He's like Bob the Builder. Go out and build. And he does this little montage. I'm not going to show it because it's just kind of pointless, but he shows this little montage of, you know, going around factories and looking at, you know, how they're making these modular homes and, you know, oh, look at how proud this is. Well, here's what they're not telling you. Here's what they're not telling you. And this is what I mean. Behind closed doors, the script is different. It's a different conversation. So I found this on a site called Globe Street. And I'm really shocked that mainstream media hasn't really highlighted this, but says Brookfield in talks on $10 billion deal with U.S. manufactured home operator. So that the idea that we are going to spend this amount of money to build homes for Canadians, by Canadians, we're going to, you know, exuberify the Canadian economy through this. We're going to increase the ability of jobs and the ability of, you know, good trade skilled workers in this process. Here's Mark Carney stabbing you once again in the back. Once again in the back. Mr. Elbows Up. Now, taking Brookfield, and of course, they're having talks to take over and have a U.S. manufactured home builder build homes for Canada. Not Canadians, not built by Canadians and for Canadians, but for the United States, for private equity. So you know it's not going to be exactly affordable by the time that it gets done and completed. So it goes on to say Brookfield Asset Management is in advanced talks to acquire, yes, communities, a major U.S. operating of manufactured homes from Singapore Sovereign Wealth Funds, GIC, in a deal that could succeed $10 billion. People familiar with the matter have told the Financial Times. If completed, the purchase would mark one of the largest real estate takeovers since 2022 and represent one of Brookfield's most significant recent property bets. The Canadian investment giant, which oversees about $1 trillion in assets, has been negotiating the acquisition for months. The People said, though no final agreement has been reached and discussions could still fall apart, Brookfield and GIC declined to comment. And yes, communities, I'm just saying it because that's the exclamation point. Did not respond to requests for comment. Yes! Communities based in Denver manage tens of thousands of manufactured homes in roughly 300 communities across the United States, with a concentration in the Midwest and Southeast. Manufactured homes, factory-built houses transported to community lots have been a critical source of affordable housing in the United States. The company both rents homes and provides purchase options in which residents buy the units over time while leasing the land from the firm. Rising demand of low-cost housing has drawn investor interest to such portfolios. So, now because there's a demand for low-income, low-cost housing, affordable housing, all these stakeholders, all these wealthy investors, the billionaire class that have already destroyed the housing market. You remember the 2008 bubble, the financial burst that, in the United States alone, Barack Obama kicked 5.2 million families out of their houses. And people lost their homes, people lost their mortgages, people lost everything in that. BlackRock is buying up real estate in metropolitan areas, a lot of condo buildings, a lot of apartment buildings, all these rental properties. And we are seeing things becoming less and less affordable because of this, because investors and stakeholders, multinational corporations, deliberately buy up and eat up the real estate market and cause this problem, cause this dilemma. So for Mark Carney to congratulate himself and sell this promise to Canadians that we're building homes, the big part of this, it's not so much the modular home. Again, I had nothing against the factory built home. Like, again, a shelter is shelter. You're someone in desperate need. You're not going to complain about it. But the most problematic about this is the fact that Mark Carney is going to turn towards Brookfield to do these deals, to do the construction, to inquire about, using federal land and building up these homes. And Brookfield is looking towards the United States. And the United States, this giant, has other multinational investors also wanting to cash in on this situation, on this problem. It's like how no one is willing to really solve homelessness because homelessness is actually a money producer. A lot of people don't realize that. Like, why would homelessness make money? Well, city governments create budgets and allow a certain amount of their budget to go towards fixing the homelessness crisis. Well, where does that money go towards? Well, it goes towards organizations that say they deal with homelessness, or that goes to NGOs. And then those people reach out to contractors. Then they reach out to other people. Then they reach out to social workers. Then they reach out to, and by the time they actually get the money to an actual homeless person to get them off the street and try to actually, maintain their stability as a human person, they're out of money. They're out of money because the money laundering scheme, it went from the city government, your taxes, and going down this laundry list of all these other entities before it actually helps the homeless. Just like it's happening here. Limited construction of new homes due to higher financial costs has tightened supply, which economists and real estate executives expect will keep rents climbing in years ahead. Many investors now view buying existing housing stock as more attractive than developing new projects and dynamic driving consolidation across the sector. The possible Yes acquisition aligns with a broader push Brookfield has made in the United States residential real estate. Since the beginning of 2023, the firm has invested more than $10 billion in homes and apartments, most of them in the United States, even as high interest rates weigh on property values and financing activity. Brookfield has a long history in global property markets, owning sizable assets such as Carney Wharf in London. Carney Wharf in London. Yeah, Mr. Elbows Up, Mr. I'm Saving Canada. You have your own goddamn portion of London. A major office and residential towers in New York. Here, Polyev called him out on that in the debate. If you're so Mr. Canada, why did your own private equity firm, your asset management firm, move its headquarters from Toronto to New York? Why? Why'd you do that? It has also invested in lower end of the United States residential sector, recently selling a portfolio of mobile homes for $1.6 billion. That exit captures strong gains from rent growth, underscoring investment appetite in this segment. So that's kind of why Mark Carney is now going full frontal on this whole affordable housing project. Does he actually care about getting you guys affordable homes? God, no. God, no. If he did, he would manage the rates of rent. He would actually try to fix inflation. He would make cost of living more affordable for Canadians. But this is, for him, this is an opportunity. This is a business opportunity. Just like we discussed about net zero, the reason they're doing all this is not because they actually care about the climate or they care about housing or they care about anything. It's a business opportunity. They're capturing the moment. They're capturing the moment that people are now, frantic about, climate change in the future. They're capturing the moment that people need affordable housing. They're capturing the moment that there's a homelessness epidemic. And these investor goons come out of the lurks and take their money and make it into a business opportunity that they can cash in on these dilemmas. Doesn't fix the problem. Doesn't help the situation. Why would they help the situation? If it makes some money, as it clearly does here, why would they care about housing? Why would they care about low income? Why would they care about putting a roof over people's heads? If it's making such a huge opportunity for the business ruling elite class, why would they care? So that is shocking, folks. And here, this is from Brookfield itself. This is from their website. Brookfield business partners to acquire Modular Group. Brookfield Business Partners LP today announced an agreement to acquire Modular Group for approximately $5 billion. Modular is a leading provider in modular leasing services in Europe and Asia Pacific, meeting the needs of a diverse customer base around the industrial, infrastructure, and public sectors. With a global fleet of approximately 260,000 modular units across 25 countries, Modular services more than 48,000 customers through an established network of approximately 180 branches. Its modular units provide customers a wide range of attractive, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly solutions for temporary space requirements. And now you know the rest of the story. Now you know the rest of the story. And again, I've seen these modular homes. My grandparents live in a modular home villa for the senior community. I have no problem with it, but I obviously see the scam, and that's the thing I'm more angry about. I'm more angry about the scam and the scheme that's being developed in this, not, the type of home that's being built. I understand why people be angry about the type of home being built. I can understand their frustration, but that's not the thing to be most concerned about. The most concerning part is the fact that Brookfield and Mark Carney are deliberately stabbing Canadians once again in the back for their own business opportunity. And hey, I understand if you don't want to be in a modular home. I understand that. So how about we make a compromise and talk to Global Affairs, and all their real estate that they got around the world? How about we talk about that? How about we talk about the 400, look at this, 400 properties in more than 70 countries. That's Global Affairs Canada. It's our equivalent to USAID, which we know that, USAID, Global Affairs Canada, not really there for aid. It's a money laundering scheme. It's for equity. It's for the, billionaire state to transfer wealth, to transfer money from country to country, to exploit other nations. That's why we spend millions and billions of dollars on, things like gender studies in countries where they would not care about gender studies. So why are we wasting money over there? Well, it's because of the business opportunity. It's money laundering. So Global Affairs Canada owns more than 400 properties in over 70 countries. That's from the Taxpayers Federation. And they have argued that, certain properties are office buildings. That's what they claim, that certain real estate that they own and occupy are, offices in certain areas that they have, employees and volunteers and whatnot. Okay, let's say if that was actually correct. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. That would still mean that you have 15, 16 other properties within those countries. Because I can't see Global Affairs Canada having multiple offices in one specific territory. But we know that in a region, in Ukraine and Senegal, they're mentioning here, Taliban, we know in these areas they have more than one piece of property. So it can't all be offices. It can't all be for Global Affairs Canada. So what exactly is this real estate for? And why are you spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money? Because that's the government pushing this money. Why are you building up a real estate portfolio in other countries when obviously Canadians can't even start to have a portfolio? They can't even have shelter. They can't even have roof over their heads. So maybe we take those properties and maybe give them some to the Canadians. There's an idea. If anyone wants to live in Ukraine or Senegal or Taliban, Afghanistan, sorry. I don't know why I said Taliban. But it says there, properties in Afghanistan abandoned to the Taliban. So they got properties for the Taliban. And $41 million. So it's just remarkable. It's remarkable that this whole scheme of affordable housing. And again, I like the principle. I like the idea of being able to build affordable housing, which we should definitely have the ability to build affordable housing. But when you have people like Mark Carney, when you have these insiders that are going to do backdoor deals, that's when this policy just completely hits the fan, shit goes everywhere, and you're starting to realize that, yeah, these promises are a joke. That what Mark Carney is doing is scamming you. He's like a carnival barker doing this. Step right up, continue on, the Liberal Party, and we'll give you affordable housing. Just let us sell out your country to Brookfield so they could sell it out to the state, so they could sell it out to this company, so that other multinational investors screw over the nation some more. But keep going with us. Keep going with the Liberal Party. Keep saying Mark Carney is great. But this charade.